Remember, remember always that all of us, and you and I especially, are descended from immigrants and revolutionists. Every immigrant who comes here should be required within 5 years to learn English or leave the country. I'm not the smartest fellow in the world, but I can sure pick smart colleagues.
How can a nation be called great if its bread tastes like Kleenex? And America, too, is a delusion, the grandest one of all. The white race believes with all its heart, that it is their right to take the land.
209 Nagumo was suddenly on his own. At this crucial time, the cost of his failure to learn the complicated factors that played into carrier operations suddenly exploded. Now, when every minute counted, it was too late to learn the complexities involved in loading different munitions on different types of planes on the hangar deck, too late to learn how the planes were organized and spotted on the flight decks, too late to learn the flight capabilities of his different types of planes, and far too late to know how to integrate all those factors into a fast-moving and efficient operation with the planes and ordnance available at that moment. Commander Gender, his brilliant operations officer, couldn't make the decisions for him now. It was all up to Nagumo. At 0730, on June 4th, 1942, years of shipbuilding, training, and strategic planning had all come to this moment. Teams of highly trained pilots, flight deck personnel, mechanics, and hundreds of other sailors were ready and awaiting his command. The entire course of the battle, of the combined fleet, and even perhaps of Japan, were going to bear the results of his decisions then and there. Americans have an inability to relax into sheer pleasure. Ours is an entertainment-seeking nation, but not necessarily a pleasure-seeking one. This is the cause of that great sad American stereotype, the overstressed executive who goes on vacation, but who cannot relax. America's healthcare system is neither healthy, caring, nor a system. I hope you find someone you can't live without. I really do. And I hope you never have to know what it's like to have to try and live without them. I hit your thigh. Oh, please. A man doesn't need that long to recover from a knee to the thigh. Being an American is about having the right to be who you are. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Also known as TR, and to the public, but never to friends and family, as Teddy, was the 26th President of the United States and a leader of the Republican Party and of the Progressive Movement. In 1934, scientist Carl Sagan was born in Brooklyn, NY. After earning bachelor and master's degrees at Cornell, Sagan earned a double doctorate at the University of Chicago in 1960. He became professor of astronomy and space science and director of the Laboratory for Planetary Studies at Cornell University and co-founder of the Planetary Society. A great popularizer of science, Sagan produced the PBS series Cosmos, which was Emmy and Peabody award-winning and was watched by 500 million people in 60 countries, a book of the same. Title came out in 1980 and was on the New York Times bestseller list for 7 weeks. Sagan was author, co-author, or editor of 20 books, including The Dragons of Eden, 1977, which won a Pulitzer, Pale Blue Dot, 1995, and The Demon-Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark, 1996, his hardest hitting on religion, with his wife, Anne Druyan. He was co-producer of the popular motion picture, Contact, which featured a feminist, atheist protagonist played by Jodie Foster, 1997. The film came out after Sagan's death, following a 2-year struggle with a bone marrow disease. Sagan played a leading role in NASA's Mariner, Viking, Voyager, and Galileo expeditions to other planets. Anne Druyan, in the epilogue to Sagan's last book, Billions and Billions. Thoughts on life and death at the brink of the millennium, published posthumously in 1997, gives a moving account of Karl's last days. Contrary to the fantasies of the fundamentalists, there was no deathbed conversion, no last-minute refugee taken in a comforting vision of a heaven or an afterlife. For Karl, what mattered most was what was true, not merely what would make us feel better. Even at this moment, when anyone would be forgiven for turning away from the reality of our situation, Karl was unflinching. As we looked deeply into each other's eyes, it was with a shared conviction that our wondrous life together was ending forever. For his work, Dr. Sagan received the NASA medals for exceptional scientific achievement and twice for distinguished public service, as well as the NASA Apollo Achievement Award. Asteroid 2709 Sagan is named after him. He was also awarded the John F. Kennedy Astronautics Award of the American Astronautical Society, the Explorers Club 75th Anniversary Award, the Konstantin Tsiolkovsky Medal of the Soviet Cosmonauts Federation, and the Masursky Award of the American Astronomical Society. For his extraordinary contributions to the development of planetary science, as a scientist trained in both astronomy and biology, Dr. Sagan has made seminal contributions to the study of planetary atmospheres, planetary surfaces, the history of the Earth, and exobiology. Many of the most productive planetary scientists working today are his present and former students and associates. He was also a recipient of the Public Welfare Medal, the highest award of the National Academy of Sciences. Dr. Sagan was elected chairman of the Division of Planetary Sciences of the American Astronomical Society, president of the Planetology section of the American Geophysical Union, and chairman of the Astronomy section of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. For 12 years, he was the editor-in-chief of Icarus, the leading professional journal devoted to planetary research. He was co-founder and president of the Planetary Society, a 100,000-member organization that is the largest space interest group in the world, and distinguished visiting scientist, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, California Institute of Technology. In their posthumous award to Dr. Sagan of their highest honor, the National Science Foundation declared that his research transformed planetary science. His gifts to mankind were infinite. D. 1996. Ph.D., University of Jena, 1841, was a social scientist who was a key contributor to the development of communist theory. Marx was born in Trier, a city then in the Kingdom of Prussia's province of the Lower Rhine. His father, born Jewish, converted to Protestantism shortly before Karl's birth in response to a prohibition newly introduced into the Rhineland by the Prussian kingdom on Jews practicing law. Educated at the universities of Bonn, Jena, and Berlin, Marx founded the socialist newspaper Vorwärts in 1844 in Paris, after being expelled from France at the urging of the Prussian government, which banished Marx in absentia. Marx studied economics in Brussels. He and Engels founded the Communist League in 1847 and published the Communist Manifesto. After the failed revolution of 1848 in Germany, in which Marx participated, he eventually wound up in London. Marx worked as foreign correspondent for several U.S. publications. His Das Kapital came out in 3 volumes, 1867, 1885, and 1894. Marx organized the International and helped found the Social Democratic Party of Germany. Although Marx was not religious, Bertrand Russell later remarked, "His belief that there is a cosmic force called dialectical materialism which governs human history independently of human volitions is mere mythology." Portraits from Memory, 1956. Marx once quipped, "All I know is that I am not a Marxist." According to Engels, in a letter to C. Schmidt, See Who's Who in Hell by Warren Allen Smith. d. 1883, Marx began cooperating with Bruno Bauer on editing Hegel's Philosophy of Religion in 1840. Marx was also engaged in writing his doctoral thesis, The Difference Between the Democritean and Epicurean Philosophy of Nature, which he completed in 1841. It was described as a daring and original piece of work in which Marx set out to show that theology must yield to the superior wisdom of philosophy. The essay was controversial, particularly among the conservative professors at the University of Berlin. Marx decided, instead, to submit his thesis to the more liberal University of Jena, whose faculty awarded him his Ph.D. in April 1841. As Marx and Bauer were both atheists, in March 1841 they began plans for a journal entitled Archiv des Atheismus, Atheistic Archives, but it never came to fruition. Marx has been described as one of the most influential figures in human history. Marx is typically cited, with Emil Durkheim and Max Weber, as one of the three principal architects of modern social science.